Hi, long time no see. Last year I sold Swallow about November and thought it was time for a change. I had a sort of boat in mind. I'd had a Hunter 21 and liked it, had a 23 and liked it, had a 27 and liked it, and I've always liked the 30, but the opportunity of one hadn't arose. Well, one arose and it was in Ipswich and the deal was done. So I know I'm a long way away from Ipswich, being in Conway, but I thought I'll get it anyway. Gives me a few months to sort it out, make sure it's okay-ish for bringing back. Everything seems to work or what have you, and do any jobs that I need doing, and bring it back in the spring. And that's more or less what I've done. And this is the story of me setting off from Ipswich and bringing the boat back. Sit back and enjoy. Well, just so you got a lay of the land, this is the starting point here at Ipswich. I'm going to travel south along the coast here, along the bottom of the UK, and then back up the other side until I reach my destination, which is here, Conway, North Wales. This is the second time actually floating the boat off the finger since I've had it. The first time another chap just went round the marina with me so I could grab my lines coming back in, which was very helpful. But now there's nobody with me. I'm on my Todd and I'm heading off to the loch for the very first time. Well, I get in the loch without any calamity and tie up. But I tell you what, I've got something strange going on in my stomach at the moment, and I think it's like butterflies or something. Not sailed the boat before, and I know more or less when I get out I've got a small river to run down, and then I've actually got to start sailing it in an area I'm not familiar with, and in a boat I'm not familiar with. Only thing I am familiar with, I suppose, is the water, the wind and the sky. Well, that's bye-bye to Ipswich Marina, which has been my home for the last 4 months. I don't mind telling you, I was a little bit hairy coming out of there for the first time. I don't know why either, it was all very straightforward. But I suppose it's what happens when you've never been on a boat before and you want to take it out for the first time. You haven't a clue where you're going. It looks like there's plenty of moorings around here, if they are moorings, that is. They look like fore and afts. Not sure why there's no boats on them. Well, I'm motoring down the river. I'm actually trying to build some confidence with this engine. The wind blowing down the river is about 18 knots I'm going into, so that means the engine's got to work a little, but it doesn't seem to push the boat very fast through the water. Probably I'd have said about 3 knots at the moment through the water, but my log ain't working properly, so that's just a mighty guesstimation. Strange clouds. Looking like Felixstowe's getting pretty close now with all them cranes. And Suffolk Yacht Harbour just over there. I think that's the only marina on the north coast, and you don't get much closer to Felixstowe than that. This is the view from my berth, a halfpenny pier. I had something to eat in this pub called the Alma. It was very nice. That's the picture of the pier on the left there, and on the right is my track all the way down. This was the view I had from the land when I went ashore. And there's the Hunter 30. It's called Seamer Chili, as you may guess it's going to be called. And this is Halfpenny Pier, and as you can see, it's a splendid place to stop to visit the little town of Harwich. No sooner than I think is the wind coming, and it's here, and I find the boat's pulling very, very well. And I got a new mate, he's called Neil. for Neil Armstrong, because he's going to have to be strong because he's got a lot of work to do. And I'm covering ground quite well. I've got cross tides, so more or less my speed's whatever I can pull out the boat by using the sails, and they're pulling quite well at the moment, and we seem to be getting somewhere. I'm a little apprehensive of this whole crossing being the Thames, because I've not been across the Thames before, and especially in a boat I don't know, and what works and what doesn't work I'll definitely find out in the next few hours. I've just got to watch out for those shallow sandbanks as well while I'm out here. But it's a lovely sunrise, first thing in the morning, and this is just so exciting that all my butterflies seem to be melting away. Well, my destination is Ramsgate. But if I keep this pace up over the ground, I'm going to reach Ramsgate far sooner than I expect. I'm quite close on the wind at the moment, as you can see, so let's hope it doesn't veer any and it only backs in our favour. Well, I'm just starting to get a feel for the boat, and I was a little bit worried that the bows were quite low down when I looked at it in the marina compared with other boats, and thought Swallows was a lot higher. But she doesn't seem to be taking any water on the decks, even on the funny little waves that dip the bow a bit. She's got a bit of an overhang on the front, so I think she gets a progressive increase in buoyancy quite quickly and just about keeps her nose above the water, which is good. She doesn't so much as sail through the water like Swallow used to, as sit on the top of it. There's a little bit of her in the water though, because there's plenty of grip in the water. Emotion, I must admit, feels very comfortable, which I was apprehensive about that as well. So I know I haven't got a big sea in front of me. It's still delivering some reference points though, so I can draw on it later. And so far I feel so good. She feels very slippy along the surface of the water. Like maybe she's got a lot more to offer should the wind increase a little bit, because we're not heel that much at the moment. So it's probably around 3 to 4 bit at the moment, and we're doing a steady 5 knots over the ground. The log's not working just yet. Right in the middle of the Thames estuary. Fine conditions. Forecast to 3 to 5, which is more or less what we got. The sea state is slight, which is brilliant. The sun is out, which is even better. And we're ahead of time. Pretty damn good. As luck would have it, the wind's backed a little bit. And that's brought up me my first sort of question in my mind, that how do I deal with them spreaders? Because they stick in the sail when you try and let the sail out a little bit more. Answers on a postcard for that one, please. That's a fairly big ship, but I know I'm safe from any shipping at the moment, because where I'm heading, the ships ain't going to follow me. I'm going through the wind farm. And no, seriously, if anybody knows the best way to deal with the wind when it pushes the sail on the spreader, let me know, because I'm racking my head at the moment to work this one out. Him, that little devil. I kid you not, that ship moved up really quickly, and I tell you what, it's a hell of a size. When you look at the tiny little boxes on it, they're those great big long freights that you see on lorries, and just look at them all stacked up. Wouldn't take much to make them fall over in a bit of a seaway, would it? And there'd be free trainers for everyone on the beach. The nicest part of being in a wind farm is you're protected from the shipping. They're not going to veer into here, I'm quite sure. Well, that's about the end of the Thanet wind farm for me. I'm just exiting the last couple of mills and I'm back into open waters. Now there's a ship anchorage just over there. And I know it's an anchorage because nothing's moving. They're all just sitting there, pointing into the wind. Well, they ain't in my way. I'm just going to skid along the last couple of them and head my way south. Going further from home while I'm going south, but the boat's loving it at the moment, and hopefully it'll warm up a little bit down here. I've had the best of a 5 now for the last few hours, and it's really picked up my pace a bit. Well, that's me just about crossed the main body of the Thames, and it's not even noon yet. That's a lot of day left to head just to Ramsgate, so I think I better start doing some new calculations and see where else I might be able to get myself to. That is taken for granted that the wind keeps up, obviously, and the pace keeps up, obviously. I think, to be honest, the wind is slowly on a little bit of a rise. And as it stiffens up, I worry more about, especially as it backs, about that spreader in the middle of the sail. I mean, the boat's sitting up all right and going quite well because we're not punching into it anymore. And of course, that makes the wave action more comfortable as well. But it doesn't make me more comfortable when I think about looking up the sail at that spreader. And that's where about the sail sets comfortably. So I'm still asking for those answers on the postcards. And as you can see, pace over the ground's picking up quite well now as the wind picks up a little bit, which is making me smile and thinking of further destinations. As I'm approaching the land ahead, which is North Foreland, the wind stiffens up a little bit and gives me a little bit more of a lift, which is very nice because that means I'm going to make it even further than I thought it was when I thought I was going to make it further than I first thought it was in the first place, if you get me. Oh, by the way, the sails are new. The Bayer Jekyll sails who I've used in the past, they've not always been the best to me, but these seem to be okay at the moment. And I'm still sort of shaking out the stretch of them and also getting the creases out the sail. So they've got a lot more to offer, I'm quite sure, when they get the chance, although that they're putting loads of power on this hull at the moment and we're ploughing through the water. Oh, and the boat's got a sugar scoop at the stern, which is coming out the water lovely and quiet, and we know how much we like quiet transoms. Well, that's North Foreland over there, and that's my first views of the White Cliffs. And that bit on the left there, on the end, that's Ramsgate, and that's where I was going to go to as my destination. But I've thought now I'm going to take a little bit of tide I've got and the lovely wind I've got, and I'm going to head around the corner and go for Dover. And I think that's not a bad run, Harwich down to Dover. I think that's a good sail for anybody in the hours of daylight and for the first sail on a boat, as well as being solo. In fact, I'm feeling like a bit of a superhero at the moment as I look at the White Cliffs. I think smashing. My friend Tim told me that the water can be really lumpy as well outside Ramsgate if you get the timings wrong. Well, my timings were fine, but I'm not going in anyway, so I'm not going to worry about the lumpy water either. Just look at how white that chalk is. That's crappy camera work, but good chalky walks. Funny thing was, even with good timings, the water seemed a little bit unsettled outside Ramsgate. But soon as you've passed it and you've got away from where the shallows are and you get back into a bit more of a flow of water, bang, it just flattens back out again. Goodwin Sands Cardinal, and there's a buoy round the other side. So it's well buoyed, the sound here, so you can almost relax as you sail through it, keeping any potential overfalls away from the boat as we head to the southeast corner of the UK. And of course we all know what port's just around that corner on the southeast. Dover, pretty famous port. Another reason that I won't be doing any night sailing at the moment is the fact that it's nice and bright at the moment and it's the sun doing all the work, but up there is the moon, and if the moon's up in the daytime it normally means it ain't gonna be up in the night time. Been some Spitfires fly over there, eh? As you'd expect, I feel like I've really achieved on this. The first sort of voyage out for me on the boat, and as I am heading towards the southeast corner, and there's the cardinal that says we're at the end of the bank, and there's the nice cliffs on the corner. Well, just like I said earlier on, I've not sailed across the Thames before, which means this is the first time I'm getting these views of the cliffs as well. So if you ain't seen them before, you're on a first time winner with me here. First hand. Mind you, looks like some of them could do with a clean. Well, there's plenty of water around here, so you just need a brush with a really long handle. Well, into Dover I go. The VTS had me outside putting my sails down, sitting outside till they're ready to let me in, and then they marched me along the southern wall all the way down to the end, and a 90-degree turn to down to the marina. Well, there's my track. I don't think that's too bad for the first day out in a boat that you're not used to. In fact, I think it's excellent. And here I am, all tucked up for the night. If you can hear that beeping, it's the collision alert on the AIS. Drives you nuts when you're in a shippy zone. White Cliff to Dover. Not as white as I thought around here. A little bit whiter around the corner. Maybe I get a bit whiter. And we've got a spinnaker on. Well, it's a cruising shoot. Well, it's called something else. A blooper or something, but I don't know. But there you go. Another lovely morning. Coming up on a place called Felixstowe. Well, I don't think I'm going to stop there. I think I'm going to push on for a bit while I've got this breeze behind me. And him dragging me along. Against the tide at 3.5 knots. And the tide runs quite strong at Dover when it's going through, because it bottlenecks a bit towards the straits. That's all I can tell you for now. Just gonna enjoy it. Laters. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my first lobster pot sighted. Today, as it's light airs, I've got Neil Armstrong doing the steering. I've got my cruising chute up, and I'm getting to know my decks a little bit and have a walk around and a feel around, feeling for me best handholds and things like that, and anything that can trip you up along the way. And the one thing I've noticed at the moment is the foredeck goes to a very, very fine point, and there ain't much room for your knees up here with the cleats and everything else that's in the way. But there's good scenery as we shoot along the south coast, plenty of hotels, holiday accommodation, and I'm seeing the odd little fishing boat out and about as well now. That there be Dungeness power station. Obviously supplies the grid with a bit of juice. It's funny because around it there's odd boats shoved or dragged up the beach, because there's not many moorings around this area, but they literally dragged them up, so how to get them back down into the water, God only knows. Oh, that pie's me breakfast. Keep your eyes off me breakfast. At the back of the power station there's just rows and rows of pylons that carry the juice away, and there's an odd little fishing boat there. I wonder whether it's a lobster pot man or not. Well, I'm very thankful for this nice weather, and the tide is just about to turn to be with us, I think. So we're going to be picking a little bit of speed up in a bit with a little bit of luck. And if it stays like this for the rest of the day, it won't have been a bad day at all. We're just about making the 5 knots over the ground now. We were a bit slower earlier on, but not too bad. Dungeness in the background. France over there somewhere. I keep hearing them on the radio anyway. Hopefully Sovereign Harbour and Eastbourne ahead that way. I'm not sure what lies over there. I'm not sure at all. But I'm having a good day. Got good weather, so I'm very lucky. And I think the timings aren't too bad. Sea state, slight, following wind. And we just like a following breeze. Not much of a wake coming off me. Where is it? Yeah, not much of a wake down there. Just a nice steady flow. Just what we like. 25 miles left to run. See you later. Started watching the speed a little bit because I know the tide's going to turn a little bit, and it's definitely on the plus side of 5 knots now, so we should cover a little bit of extra ground and get into Sovereign Harbour well before tea time with a little bit of luck. The motion with the boat running as well is very smooth. I haven't had any where it sways from port to starboard, port to starboard, port to starboard. I haven't had any of that, but then I think it's slightly on the quarter. And the transom's still lovely and quiet. And it's not dug in either, so I'm not at full speed yet, because when I am, I'm quite sure that'll be dug in. Oh, and this little fella, he's excellent. That's probably one of the best autopilots of that design on the market. It's quiet, and it really is predictive. It's catching the movements before they're made, so it's learning as it goes along. Clever little thing. Anyway, we've named it Neil, so it'll be Neil from now on. We'll need to see how Neil copes in different conditions, won't we? And see where he gives up the ghost. But for now, he's done first class over the last day and today. Well, this really is the Sunshine Coast. It's not perfect relying on no log, but it's the best I've got on the speed over the ground from the GPS at the moment. If I get a chance, I'll get that log cleaned and let it get on with doing what it's supposed to do and show me what I'm doing through the water. The shoreline, it's all hotels over there. There's still cliffs of Dover type thing, the white cliffs still run in different areas, but there's a hell of a lot of built up areas and hotels, and if I zoom in you can see it's just holiday front and holiday front and holiday front. And I suppose they've got spectacular views, but it's only water and there's not a lot of boats sailing in it. So if there was any binoculars on that land at the moment, I think they'd be looking at me out here going, there's a boat out there, Mabel, look. It's been a good day. It's been a cracking day. We've had good winds all day and we've had sunshine as well. Despite the planes spraying in the skies, they've not been able to win the sun out today. The scooper, whatever it's called, cruise and shoot type thing, has done a blinding job, just dragged me along all day. We're by Hastings now, and that means we'll probably go on less than 10 miles to get to Sovereign Marina, which isn't bad at all. Really pleased with today's run because it was saying at first it was going to be light airs and then I had not enough wind. Then I was panicking a little bit and then all of a sudden the breeze picked up a little bit and great run into the sun. 2 hours to go and I'll be in the marina with a bit of luck, having a pint of beer. Well, that dark patch ahead of me, that's Eastbourne coming along there. There's not tons and tons of wind left, and in the next few minutes I'm going to have to go to the motor as well as the sail and maybe even start bringing the sail in. And there you go, we're almost at the doorstep, closed in on the land. I've switched to the motor now and there's lobster pots all over the place, marked with little fuel containers, and if you look into the silvery sun and there's a white container, you can't see it for jack. And that's me in and all tucked up. That's the loch where I came in over there, and to make life really easy, this first finger along here is the visitors' berths. Average speed of nearly 6 knots today, max speed of 7.5, not bad if I say so myself. And there's my track from Dover down. Very good. And this is where it all started from. 3 days ago in Ipswich. Not bad coverage. It's nicer to see no boat there though. Okay for now. Au revoir.